Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah. I bear witness that there's no God but God, no partner has He. I greet everybody with the universal greetings of Assalamu alaikum. Today's sermon title will be called "You Are the Masjid and the Masjid is You." That's the title. So inshallah, I'm going to read 2:114. And God willing, it's all going to connect to show you that you are the masjid and the masjid is you. Because a lot of times we think of the masjid just being about the physical building and place. But it's deeper than that. And inshallah, I'm going to read some ayats from the Quran, which is the final testament to KSN. This is Baqarah, the Heifer, Surah 2, 114. You shall frequent the masjid. Who are more evil than those who boycott God's masjids, where His name is commemorated, and contribute to their desertion? These ought not to enter therein except fearfully. They will suffer in this life humiliation, and will suffer in the hereafter a terrible retribution. To God belongs the east and the west. Wherever you go, there will be the presence of God. God is omnipresent, omniscient. Right here is clear. God is telling us that we should come to the masjid. We should never get into a position, not unless you're like real sick to where you can't move no more. Then it's a different story. But God tells us, do not desert the masjid, because when we come here, we are commemorating God's name. We're calling on God. This is the place where we do that at, right? But it's not the only place. That's why the title is You Are the Masjid and the Masjid is You, because without us, it's just a building. Without us coming here every Friday, it's just a space. Right?
Yes.
Just a place, just a space. But when we come here and we bring the energy and we commemorate God in here, right? Then we say we're in the masjid, right?
Yes.
Don't we say that? I'm going to the masjid, right? Where you going, brother? Where you going, sister? I'm going to the masjid. Now, why would Allah allow me to come into the understanding of you are the masjid and the masjid is you? Because without the people, the masjid would not have the significance of being the masjid without the people coming. Right?
Yes, sir.
So you are the masjid and the masjid is you. Because you bring your righteousness, you bring your endeavors, you bring your positive thoughts, you bring yourself, your soul and your spirit to the masjid. Right? So you are the walking masjid, because you're coming to the masjid to bring that energy to the masjid. Because there's a power in the masjid. There's a power. And when we all come together, right, the power becomes stronger, and so do we. That's why God tells us. He tells us they will suffer in this life humiliation. I don't know about y'all, but I can attest that when I wasn't coming to the masjid, I was suffering. felt humiliated. Especially after you know this is the path, this is the way, and you desert this masjid, you suffer. Don't God tell us that in the Quran?
Yes, sir.
He says it will suffer in this life humiliation. Been there, done that. Don't want to do that no more. Right? Don't want to do that. Because we don't want to suffer. We don't want to be humiliated. So we come to the masjid. Right? I love coming to the masjid. God be glorified. Now I'm going to read, just bear with me, because I wrote some stuff down as it was just coming to me, you know. Now sometimes you just, you know, you be in a certain way and stuff come to you, and it's good to have a pen and paper nearby to write that stuff down, because those be inspirations from the Creator. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Those be those inspirations from God, and sometimes it's good to write those things down. And sometimes you'll get solutions and answers to what you're going through in that present time, and write that thing down and put it on the wall and let it be an affirmation for you to keep pushing on. I'm telling you, man. Yeah. Okay, just bear with me. So we know we should, God says, you should frequent the masjid. Yeah. Just bear with me. Okay, I'm going to 86. Same show. When my servants ask you about me, I'm always near. I answer their prayers when they pray to me. The people should respond to me and believe in me in order to be guided. So that keys in to the masjid. Because we are seeking to be guided by the Creator. That's another reason why we come to the masjid. Because we want to hear the good word, we want to hear the positive word, outside of all the other things that we do during the course of the week, the month, and so on and so forth. Sometimes you need to hear that good word.
Yes, sir.
And what better day to hear the good word than on a Friday? Because usually on a Friday, it's a high day for a lot of people. And what I mean by a high day is they want to drink and get high. So Friday is a good day to come to the masjid, right, and commemorate God. Right?
Yes, sir.
Beautiful day. Because when we leave here today, for us who are aware and conscious of what goes on this Friday and many other Fridays, it's a high day for a lot of people. It's a day of getting their drink on, popping bottles, and all that other stuff. But I'm not here to condemn. It's not about condemning. It's just about reflecting on whether we once were there or we are being aware of what is going on in the time. So we don't want to get distracted. No, we don't. And we don't want to get humiliated because of certain actions that we take upon of the world. We don't. Especially if we've escaped it and come out of it. Or maybe God has prevented us from even becoming a part of that. God be glorified. Yeah. There's many examples that God gives us. And guess what? It don't have to be all that deep. You can just look at it and look at your situation and apply it to your situation in the here and now. This book is for all times. For all times. So you are the masjid, and the masjid is you. Because of what you bring to the table, what you bring to the musalla, what you bring when we have Quranic studies, what you bring in your spirit when you speak about what it is God has given you, what it is that God has done for you, what it is that you're doing with the message that God has given you. Yeah, it's a power. It's a working. These ayats are working when you work them in your life. They will work for you. They will bring an awareness that you never had before. Yeah. God makes us aware. Okay. I'm going to read 597. Surah 5, ayat 97. So just bear with me. Sermon ain't going to be long because I just want to, and then, inshallah. Okay. Okay? Here it is. We're in Surah 5, ayat 97. God has appointed the Kaaba, the sacred masjid, to be a sanctuary for the people and also the sacred months. The offerings to the sacred masjid, and the garlands marking them. You should know that God knows everything in the heavens and the earth, and that God is omniscient. Know that God is strict in enforcing retribution, that God is forgiving, most merciful. So, we know, because God tells us. See, when God tells you something, that's how you know, right? You only know by being told, right? You only know by being shown, right? You only know by what? The examples of others that came before you, right? You get the information, right? You see the information works, right? You want a piece of that information. You start following that information, right? That information becomes a part of your life, your thinking, your breathing, right? Your seeing, your hearing, your touch, your feeling, right? That's why you are the masjid and the masjid is you. Because when you come to the masjid, you get the teachings from the Creator about what it is you need to do and how you need to do it. Right? So you are the masjid and the masjid is you. Because when you meet somebody and they talking to you about submission, what do they say? Inshallah, come down to the masjid. Right? They come down to the school, the spiritual school. Right? This is where it begins. It's part of the beginning. Right? And at the end, when you leave here and go back to Allah, the masjid comes together and it performs your janazah. Right? Right? So it's all connected to the masjid. But the people are the ones that bring the vibrancy to the masjid. The spirit of each and every one of us in here. That's right. His knowledge, her knowledge, we come together, put all that knowledge in the big pot, stir it up, right? And we eat from that knowledge. And it nourishes us, nourishes our soul, gives us the hope that we need, and we keep on pushing on because we know that the call of death calls us, and we're trying to get it right before we go back to God. Oh, yeah. Ain't we trying to get it right before you go back? That's why we come here. We're trying to get it right. We're trying to get it right. Right?
Yes, sir.
Even when we have done wrong or do wrong, we are still trying to get it right because the consciousness of truth has been imparted to us. God has done what? He's expanded our bosom. He says it in the book, right? Anyone that he chooses to guide, what does he do? He opens up their chest to submission.
Teach, brother.
And you get the guidance from the Creator. On that note, let us repent, inshallah. sit back down. Oh boy. Oh, here it is. Alhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah. Wa la sharika lahu. There's no God but God. No partner has he. I agree everybody once again with the greeting about Assalamu alaikum. I just want to say, let me tell you something. Today was a test for me. The 2 train, all the signals wasn't working. I'm like, oh man, I got to get to Juma because I wanted to deliver this message here. So what I'm going to do? Got on the bus was going slow. I said, you know what? Got in the cab, you know? Got on the train idle. You know, but I said, relax, you know. And then I was going to make a stop. I said, no, let me come straight here. So I'm here. So what I'm saying is this here. Sometimes in your wanting to get to Juma, sometimes you may have to jump some hurdles to get here. But I'm going to tell you, listen, God be glorified that we're willing to jump the hurdles to get here. I'm telling you. God be glorified that we, you know, we have a destination. Man, I got to get to Juma. That's a gift. Because when you get here, God is going to give you something unseen. I'm telling you. Because during the course of the week, we might have been going through some things, and then you'll come in and somebody will talk about a situation, and oh, wow. You know, so it ain't as bad as I thought it was. And I'm going to say this, it's never as bad as we think it is. That's why we got to call on God to get the relief from the Creator. Because He say, what? Think that you say you believe and you will not be tested, for sure that tested those before you. He says He's going to test us, but He tells us that He's tested those before us. The people who, some of us we know, some of us we never met, they were tested by the Creator. They were tested. So we're going to be tested. But the gift is we know we're going to be tested, so when it comes, we can say, well, God did say this was going to happen, so you better buckle in, right? Put that seatbelt on a little bit tighter, because you're going for a ride, up and down, all around. It's going to be a deep slope. You're going to lose your breath. You're going to get a little dizzy, but you better hold on to God. Because in the end, God is the only reality, and we're going back to God. Now, 597. God has appointed the Kaaba, the sacred Masjid, to be a sanctuary for the people. You notice God says a sanctuary for the people, and that we should not. You notice God says a sanctuary, right? And not something that we worship, right? Right? It's a sanctuary. It's not something that we make Hajj and we want to worship the Kaaba. No. God is saying it's a sanctuary, people, for the people. That's what God tells us. So a sanctuary is what? A place of peace, a safe haven, a gathering, an inspiration, a regrouping, a reawakening. Sanctuary. That's what it is. It's not about, no. We only worship God alone. That's it. That's it. So it's clear to us what the Kaaba is. Right? Right? So all that other stuff that's going on that deals with idolization of others than God is bigger. What that means is it's innovation. So we don't take part in that stuff. Because God tells us, God has appointed the Kaaba, the sacred Masjid, to be a sanctuary for the people. And also the sacred months, the offering to the sacred Masjid and the garlands marking them. You should know that God knows everything in the heavens and the earth, and that God is omniscient. Know that God is strict in enforcing retribution, and that God is forgiving, most merciful. The sole duty of the messenger is to deliver the message. And God knows everything you declare and everything you conceal. So right now, whatever you're thinking right now, God knows that thought. Whatever we hide or may feel, God knows that thought. And that is what makes God God. Because he can do that. The Creator can do that. I can't do that. I'm not a God. And that is what gives us the hope that knowing what God can do. When you know what God can do, that should give you hope. Right? No matter what the situation and circumstance may be. So God explains to us the power that he has as being the Creator. That's what God lets us know. That he has a power that we need to believe in, trust in, hold on to tight. Don't despair of God's mercy. Don't, sometimes we get distracted, but don't become so distracted where you forget your Lord. Because part of being distracted is part of the test too. Yeah, that's part of the test also. So now we know that the Kaaba is a sanctuary for the people. And we know that you are the Masjid and the Masjid is you. Because we come here, I don't want it to sound like I'm repeating myself, but there's a significance behind this thing here. Because sometimes we take it for granted just coming up in here. Oh, no. No, there's a power up in here. I don't know about you, but when I come to Juma and I hear something, I feel so good. I checked in with my Lord, but not just coming to the Masjid, doing the 5 contact prayers, during the course of my day and stuff like that, because certain things that I used to do, certain behaviors that I used to do, I don't do no more. So that's when you know that you've made a change in your life. And that's when you know you are the Masjid and the Masjid is you. Okay? The connection. And the connection will make you reflect on your life. And then the change will come. And then you'll be walking in that change on a constant. And when you backslide or fall, the change will say, hold up, it'll push you back, and and then you'll be back, back in position, I'm going to call it. That's why we got to stay in position, because this is a mission of life. It's about saving your life. And if you're not in position, you're going to fall. You're going to fall. And there's many kinds of falls that we go through as humans. Yeah. It could be an emotional fall, a spiritual fall. You're always angry. That's a fall. You're not taking care of yourself. That's a fall. You're not thinking positive. That's a fall. There's different many falls that we fall into. I'm telling you, man. Mismanaging the money fall. Right? Still dwelling on the past fall. Right? There's so many different falls. Now, when we speak about the Kaaba, let's go and talk about, because see, some people think the Kaaba is just a building. I'm talking about the inner Kaaba. The inner Kaaba, the heart. Okay? The inner Kaaba, the heart, your spirit. Right? Let's talk about that. Because you got the physical Kaaba and you got the inner Kaaba that God has placed physically inside of you. Yeah. Your Kaaba, your direction. Have you ever thought about the inner Kaaba that God has put inside of you? Yeah. It's deep.
Yes, sir.
Because sometimes the Shaitan want to have us think it's just about buildings and things. It's about inner. The inner Kaaba.
Teach, brother.
Which is your heart. Your true Kaaba. Your true Kaaba. Because the faith, it starts inside. How you will believe in anything else if faith has not yet entered into your heart? Right? How is a child who believes that the mother and father know what's right for them if they don't have prior experience about the situation or about having that faith to properly guide that child or impart information to that child? Right? The inner Kaaba. You're in a direction as a soul, as a parent, as a submitter, as an aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, nephew, or whoever you may be in this process. The inner Kaaba. So it all goes back to you are the Masjid and the Masjid is you. It goes back to that. So we got to stop looking at the building and look at the inner building. Because God says what? He's Al-Fatir, the best designer. So if you look at your makeup, the physical makeup, and how all this stuff is working together, it's a beautiful Kaaba. Beautiful Kaaba. And in winding it down, winding it down. So we know Masjid is deeper than just a building, and we know Kaaba is just deeper than making the pilgrimage to Mecca. Right? Now we know. We know now, right? We know.
Yes, sir.
We know, man. And woman, we know. We know. Yeah. So now, what we know, just like when Dr. Rashad Khalifa came with the information, and now we know, and others are coming with information, now we know. This brother might get up next week and give us some information, now we know. We might be talking, doing Quranic studies, and one of the sisters may share something that we never thought about, now we know. Right? So what I'm saying in ending the sermon is that each and every one of us sitting here today, whether you believe it or not, God is going to give you something to your inner Kaaba, to your inner Masjid, that's going to help somebody along the way in this path in submission. And I'm in on that. Let us come to prayer.